Hello everyone, and welcome back to The Merchant's Way. Now, firstly, what I'd like to do is to thank you all for indulging us in making you aware of what's going on in our town of Grantham with our Save Grantham Town Centre. But this week we're going to get back to art, wall painting, history, the sociology of all of this. And that's not to say we'll ignore completely what's been going on. We'll keep you in touch. But let's get back to art and culture. Now, in England, wall paintings aren't such a big thing. Yes, I know there's a little fraternity now. And at the Courtauld, incidentally, the Courtauld Institute, they do a very good program on wall paintings. Because two of the young women we have, that helps us when we have resources in our kitty. They come and do sections of our wall paintings. And they were both trained at the Courtauld Institute. And I tell you, they're absolutely brilliant. Bianca and Claudia. Now, you will notice we've gone around the room. For those of you who've not been with us, we actually started, and this is our painted chamber, which is said to be the most important and extensive late medieval domestic work in the country. So we've gone right around the room of the painted chamber, though the whole of the upper floor, the painting goes around. But this is the most complete. Now, it's patchy in other places, but here we've got a complete scheme. Now, you'll also notice behind me, both shoulders, that this has not yet been worked on. Now, the upper level, it's actually not badly picked out, but it's not at its best. But as you see along here, that needs an awful lot of work. Now, you know, wall paintings are, if we go right back, though these are domestic and also, let's really take this to where, you know, man, and I say man, I mean women as well, but if I use it as man, please, the female side of things, know that you are included. Ever since time begun, it's a way of communicating. So we really want, if you think of a sole individual, an individual walking across the desert lands, cave paintings, we want to communicate. We want to know if there are other people like us or with the same understanding. And irrespective of language, culture, the one thing that, and it's that thing we talked about, recognition, if we draw a painting, if we draw a drawing, no matter how basic, it means we've left a mark, we've left our mark. So then whoever finds that will recognize and be able to interpret and decipher. And that tells us that there's someone else about with an understanding. And that's what we're doing all the time. We're leaving markers to be recognized. So now that's how we began. So now that even within a sort of a situation where we have towns and cities, we're still leaving our marks, really. We recognize each other. We recognize what we have in common with each other. So that tells us about the interconnectedness of everything. Once you're tuned in to be able to decipher these things, you realize it's not just about wall painting, it's not just about architecture, it's not just about art, it is even the most mundane things in life. You start to realize what it is we do. So now, you know, when you look at some of the very early cave paintings, there's that, you see the stick figures. And then there's the classic, well, I call it the classic one, where so you see literally a hand go up on a wall, and the person will have filled their mouth with paint, and they go, and they leave their handprint on the wall. And these are some of the basic terms. But the point is, it's still communicating, it's still recognizing and realizing we're communicating. So even if the people who found what's been left, they will be able to know whether it reads through to them. So this is why it's so incredibly important. So that's just giving you a feel of what this is about. But for us, now, something I'd like to, though this is all considered, by the way, domestic, what I'd like to do is to take you into churches, because it's said and thought that all of our churches in this country, they were painted. Not all with figurative subjects, but they were painted. And also, not just on the inside, there are certain churches and cathedrals, and one of the cathedrals that springs to mind exteriorly, which was painted, is Wells Cathedral. And as a matter of fact, I've not visited Wells for a number of years now, and it's due for a revisit actually, but it's me finding the time. They've got a small mock-up of the cathedral, painted the way they're very convinced it would have been at its time. And that's rather interesting, because all of the painted figures and so forth outside, they too were painted. Now, for a cathedral, by the way, with paintings within, I have to let you know this. And this is in England. This is St. Albans. And if you're anywhere near St. Albans, I really do strongly recommend it, because not just about, and it's not because of the completeness of the paintings, I find it really magical. I used to actually live not in St. Albans, but in a little town not far from it called Radlett. So I used to go up there an awful lot and just spend time in there. And there's a textural quality that I find absolutely magical. And you get a wall surface with no paint. You then get woodwork. Again, then you get the painted walls, and there's something textural about that. And one shouldn't, by the way, and I didn't, but nonetheless, when you get something that's so textural, you immediately want to touch it, but you must refrain from doing so, because, you know, artifacts, it doesn't do it an awful lot of good to do that. And I'm always telling people off about coming in here. Some people actually, you never know what reaction you're going to get. They come into this room and they become quite emotional. Some, you can see really, they're interested, but really there's no passion. But that's all right, because they could be new to it. And it takes time to build up. And whereas you'll get some people and they'll just stand there and they'll say, oh my God, I didn't know we had anything like this in this country. People really do become quite overwhelmed. And for me, that's when I take a step back, because it's lovely just to watch and see it renews it for me as well. So that's beneficial to me as well, because obviously I live here and have done for an enormous, over 33 years. But nonetheless, it brings a freshness to things. So I hope you're enjoying us being back to this, and we shall start deciphering and giving you more. But like I say, look, we're not at school. I want to share this with you so you will become captivated and you're not just waiting for me to literally put it all on the table there. I want for you to become interested so you too will go looking and finding out things for yourself. Thank you again, and we'll see you on the next voyage. Good sailing.